Customer accounts in the sales ledger. In this session, we learn how to view, edit, and create customer accounts in Dynamics 365 Business Central. Let's begin. First of all, let's start with a quick recap on how to find your customer accounts and what your customer page looks like in Business Central. So I'm just clicking on the quick link from the Role Centre and my customer list opens. If you remember from Chapter 1, we can change the icons on the screen by clicking on the ribbon and choosing whether we view tiles or the list view. I prefer the list view as I can see more information. From the list view, we can see the customer's account number. In my demonstration company, these are numerical and they're generated by the system. But in your configuration, you may have these defined as manual numbers. You can do both. I have my account name, I've got some balance fields which I'll come back to in a moment, and as we saw in Chapter 1 there is another information on here about our customers. On the right hand side we have our customer related fact boxes, so lots of information at our fingertips, and underneath the tiles or the queues we then have more financial information, so their current balance, value of outstanding orders and their credit limit. How would you find your customer's account? If you remember from Chapter 1, we click on the search button and type in the information that we have. This could be the customer's phone number if it's recorded in Business Central, a contact name or part of their customer's account name. You can see here that the system has returned my customer. You may remember also from Chapter 1 that we also have advanced filtering that we can use on this screen as well. So for any practice or tips on how to use that function, please refer to Chapter 1 and go back through the overview in introductory sessions. So we've spoken about the list page and our customer. We can see the balance from here and we can also see the balance due. LCY, just as a quick reminder, is local currency. Within your Business Central main configuration, so the general ledger setup, you will have specified the base currency of your company. So in this example, mine is set up as sterling, so my balance LCY means my balance in local currency, so my base currency. Both of these fields you can drill in and you can view the transactions that make up that balance. From here I can see the posting date of the transaction, that's the nominal period the transaction was posted into, the document type, its document number, and other financial information about that transaction. If I want to drill in further against this transaction, I can click on the Process option from the ribbon and hit Show Posted Document. This will give me a breakdown of who the customer was and the products or services that were sold to that customer. You can also raise corrective credit notes from here too, but that will be covered in a later session. Just clicking the back arrow, so back again in our customer ledger entry screen, hitting Process again. I also have this Navigate function. Again, you may remember this from Chapter 1. When I hit Navigate, the system will collate all of the ledgers where this transaction has touched. For instance, I have 7 GL entries, and again, without having to come out of my customer's account, I can keep drilling in and finding out about my customers' transactions. So there are other ledgers here that have been affected, so the stock ledger, the VAT ledger, general ledger and the sales ledger. And hitting back, and I'm back in the customer ledger entry screen. And we'll come back to this screen in later sessions in this chapter and when we come to talk about allocating and reallocating transactions. For now, I'm going to hit the back button to take me back to my customer list. So that's the balance field I did a drill in on. And as we said earlier, the fact boxes on the right hand side work in the same way. So you can drill in and you can see posted transactions or open transactions. So from a sales ledger perspective, there's a lot of information about your customer without going into their card view. But if you do need to go into the customer's card view, of course you can. Now, you can view this in a read-only mode, you can view it as an edit mode, We'll discuss the delete function in a moment. For now, I'm going to click on the account number, and this will open up the customer page in edit mode. I know that it's in edit mode because the main fields here you can see are editable when I click on them. If you were in read mode, the fields on the screen would be greyed out. Okay, so in my example here, you may remember that customer card pages are split into fast tabs. So as we scroll down the page, you can see that I've got tabs scrolling down the screen, which I can show or hide, expand. There's a really good statistics fast tab as you scroll down the screen, which gives you an idea of the customer's debt and their history, usage of their credit limit, for instance. And there's a really nice analysis of their debt or their age debt over time. And you can change how that screen works. In terms of editing customer details, which is really the only time you probably need to come in and change an existing customer account, if you have relevant permissions, you can edit most of these fields, apart from the numerical values. So if I was going to change the customer's name, I click on the field and enter the text, and I can either tab off or click on the next field down. And the change that I've made has now been saved and written into the database. I haven't been prompted to save changes, and I never will be, because Business Central will save your changes automatically as you go, as long as you click off the field. If I've made a mistake, I can take out the text that I entered, if I've perhaps entered it in the wrong field, and take what was there before. Whilst I'm at this point, I'm going to mention a function in Business Central which is really helpful if you want to keep an audit trail or you're worried about any records being changed. So Business Central has a function called changelog, which you need to configure in your system, and you need to set up to say which tables you want it to track. But essentially it works as an audit trail on new records or existing records where you modify or in fact deleting of records. And you can define which fields you want to track changes on. And the good thing about it is it tracks the date and time and the user that's made the changes or inserted new records, but also it will tell you the previous entry. Anyway, back to my customer and editing changes. The other thing I wanted to mention was this credit limit field. Now, at the moment, it's showing as 0, which might make you believe that the customer has no credit limit. But actually, within Business Central, this means the customer at the moment has an unlimited credit limit. If your business uses credit limits or wants to utilise them, you need to fill something in. So you have to actually put in a proper credit limit once you've done a credit check. You can, of course, always put in a penny, which means they have no credit limit really. And you can see mine has gone red. And if I scroll down to my statistics down here, you can see they've used all of their credit limit, in fact, well over. And I can set that back. So again, that's quite a useful tool. So that's making editing changes. So you may remember from the top of the screen, we can open our screen in read-only mode or edit mode. The add sign up here is to create a new record, so you can create a new customer from here if you want to. We also have a delete function. Just a quick recap on this. If you have permissions to delete customers, that's all very well, but if your customer has a balance, even if you hit yes to delete it, you will get a warning from the system to say, unfortunately, you cannot because that has open ledger entries. So I'm just going to revert the change, and I'm back to where I was. So I finished with my customer card in terms of how would I make editing changes. So going back to my customer list, I now want to create a new account, and we'll talk about the process for this. So once I'm here, I would click on the new button from the ribbon. And the first thing that opens up is a window that's prompting you to select a template. In my demonstration company, I have 3 templates to choose from, so I'm going to choose the top one. The reason for having templates is to give you consistency with the creation of your customers. I'm going to click OK, and a new customer card opens up. You can see the next sequential number has been generated by the system, but as I mentioned earlier, this is something that you could configure to be a manual account number. I'm being prompted to enter the customer's name, and I will enter a credit limit. As I scroll down the screen, I would go to my Address and Contact Files tab, and I would enter my customer's address details and contact information. Just a quick tip, generally on the address fields, they tend to be text fields of 50 characters, and then they drop in line value as you come down the screen, so county will be a bit shorter, as will postcode. And the contact fields over here will generally be about 30 characters, apart from the email, which is generally about 80. So it should be enough room for you to put all of your information in, but if you don't have it to hand at this stage, you can always come back and edit it. I'm not going to bore you by filling in random information. I'm going to carry on through. So in terms of my Invoicing Files tab, I've got a VAT registration number, which hopefully I've got and I would fill in. Just to be aware that this will be validated in Business Central, so it has to be a correct VAT reg number and in the right format. We then have posting groups in the system, which you'll notice are pre-filled automatically from the template I selected. My next Files tab is Payments, which you'll also notice is pre-filled. That was again automatically populated from my template. And that's it really in terms of my customer creation and editing my customer. But just a quick note on this session did not include an approval process for creating a new customer account, but this facility is available in the system and instruction is given in our Advanced Financials training course. So for now, I'm going to close my customer and go back to my list. That concludes our session on customer records. The next session covers raising sales invoices and credits. See you next time.